Hello, sports fans. As you know, the O and O Kansas City Chiefs are no longer O and O. Their undefeated season has been thwarted by I nearly said San Diego Chargers, by the Los Angeles Chargers, who won by a touchdown. I didn't see the game because it was on YouTube and it looked weird to me, so I didn't watch. I found out who won this morning. Football was not made for streaming. Football is made for live TV, and it ought to be on the broadcast channel so anybody could get it. But rich people who want to rape you and steal your money, they rigged the television broadcast system to where you couldn't receive it at your house anymore because they went to digital format. And so the HD antennas are worthless, so they make you buy either cable or satellite. And when you do that, you're paying hundreds of dollars to just watch a football game that you should be able to watch for free. It's not really free, but they expect you to buy the Jimmy Dean sausage biscuit or the or the Just for Men deal to get the gray out of your beard. I like commercial broadcast television because it was honest in that, hey, we're in business to sell you stuff, and the programming is incidental. We don't care as long as people watch it and see our ads. To me, that's honest when it comes to sales. So, anyway, there's my rant for the day. I did not watch the game because I felt manipulated. And I bet that Mahomes felt manipulated when he found himself on the losing side at the expiration of regulation. There's no joy in Mudville today. I'm almost afraid to go to town because everybody up here will be in a terrible mood because KC lost. And what were they doing playing in Brazil anyway? All of this stuff doesn't make any sense to me. What we call soccer is football everywhere else in the world except here. Let's just have American football. The rest of the world is not going to like it anyway, and they're never going to play it. Not on a high level. I would say they probably have too much sense. But we love football. At least I love football still. So, as I say, my broadcast musings are over. And so are the Chiefs' hopes of an undefeated season. I wouldn't be in a hurry to go back to Sao Paulo. Chapter 34 of the book of Isaiah. It will be mostly reading today mostly because we cover familiar material that I never want you to lose sight of because everything begins and ends with Babylon. Life begins in the garden. Religion begins at Babylon and will end at Babylon. God hates religion. Never forget that. Religion is man's trying to work himself to heaven. It is completely disapproved of by God. You cannot work your way into heaven. You cannot earn your way into heaven. For by grace you are saved through faith. And not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Chapter 34. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, all that is therein, the world, and all the things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out. Their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And of course, there was a near fulfillment of these in the Assyrian invasion that was unsuccessful of Judah, the Babylonian conquering of Judah, which was a success, and the captivity and the return. But the final judgment upon Babylon, the final judgment upon God's enemies, which are actually Babylon and then Nineveh, because that's where Nimrod went after he left Babylon, to try to do the same thing again, and so they are intertwined. That final judgment is going to come upon Babylon at the end of the Great Tribulation, when the Lord returns at the Battle of Armageddon. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off the vine, as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, and behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon all the people of my curse, to judgment. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood, is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And the unicorns shall come down with him, and the bullocks with the bulls. And their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust be made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. The streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. And the land thereof shall become burning pitch, and it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. That's what he's talking about. In the end, he's talking about Babylon. We need to cross-reference some chapters. Now, I've got my old Bible here, where I know where everything is, and then I've left aside my newer Bible that I can see better. I think I may have to give up familiarity for sight. I can feel my way around the kitchen. It's hard to feel my way around the words that are this small. But I will proceed. I want to read 11 through 17, and then I'm going to compare it to other destructions, and you will see plainly that he's talking about the same destruction. This is the eventual destruction of Babylon and everything Babylon represents, which had its partial fulfillment in the Babylonian conquering of Assyria, in the Medo-Persian conquering of Babylon. It had its partial fulfillment then, but its ultimate fulfillment will not come until the end of the Great Tribulation, because these conditions have never happened before, so that means they have to happen in the future. Verse 11, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness, Tehu the Lord. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there. And all her princes shall be nothing. And the thorns shall come up in her palaces. It's going to be overgrown. Like the palace in Sleeping Beauty, when Maleficent causes all the thorns to grow up and trap them in their deep sleep. And the thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be in a ham and egg sandwich. I like ham and egg sandwiches. Not a hamentation, not a lamentation, a habitation. You know, this is getting ridiculous. So, I'm going to quit pretending to be Eric Sevareid and just move my glasses where I need them. You have to be of a certain age to know who Eric Sevareid was. He was a newscaster and a reporter back when reporters were reporters. And in his old age, he became a commentator. CBS News. He was one of Murrow's men, Edward R. Murrow's men in London during the war, as was Cronkite. Eric Sevareid. Now, where's that hamentation at? Yes, there we go. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beast of the desert shall also meet with the wild beast of the island, and the satyr who cry to his fellows, and the screech owl shall also rest there, find for herself a place of rest. The jungle takes over again. If you don't believe the jungle will take over, just quit mowing, hedging, and trimming, and your house will be just covered up. Nobody can see it from the road. You'll have trees growing up along the side of your house that'll break your roof. You got to keep up with it, friends. Now that I've gotten crippled up, I got to hire somebody to do that or depend on the kindness of friends sometimes. Right now, my son Charles has devoted some time to doing a major cleanup in the yard. And since he has 2 days off, but he works the night shift, so it's kind of weird for him to do it, but he's been coming a couple of times a week and taking care of the big things. And then there's a guy from the church that has taken it upon himself to come mow my yard, so I have not been having to pay for a lawn mowing this year. What I do is I take people out to dinner and stuff, and we have fellowship, and you can't tell people not to do things for you because that is the Lord blessing you through them. Verse 15, there shall the great owl make her nest and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. If you notice, great owls, which are bigger than a regular owl and smaller than an eagle, of course, but they're all falcon, they're all raptors, they're all predators, birds of prey. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. And then Isaiah says for us to prove these things. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. None of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit hath gathered him. He hath cast the lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them line by line, and they shall possess it forever, from generation to generation. They shall dwell therein. Where? Babylon. Who's he given Babylon to? To the owl, to the vultures, to the wild beast, to the satyr, to the screech owl, to the dragons, to nettles and brambles and thorns. That's who he's given Babylon to. And there won't be nothing there no more forever. To begin this comparison, which is a confirmation of the Word of God, it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. This means is God is telling Isaiah, I've seen these things for a long time. I've shown them to my prophets. They have been writing it down. They're going to write it down. So, where has it said the same thing? Where has the Lord said the same thing? Where has a prophet recorded the same thing? And also there will be prophets recording it in the future. Jeremiah will record it years, 100 to 130 years after Isaiah records his, 150 years after Isaiah records his prophecies. Zephaniah will record the same thing 100 years after Isaiah. That's Zephaniah, not Zechariah. John the Apostle will record his more than 800 years after Isaiah records his. Isaiah is even prophesying the prophecy. Can you dig that, baby? Chris, I hope you're okay this morning. We've been praying for you. We've been praying for your friend Eddie. God bless you, Chris. If we go back to chapter 14 of Isaiah, he writes at the same time. It says, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one of his own house. But they are cast out of that grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain. Thrust through with the sword, they go down to the stones of the pit, a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land, and slain thy people, and the seeds of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant, and son and nephew, saith the Lord. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of waters, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. That means a broom of straw, that they, like a witch's broom, where they take the straw around a stick and they get it on the end, and then they wrap it real tight with threads or cords, or maybe a leather strap, tie it down real tight, soak it and stretch it and make it real tight so that straw won't fall out. And then they sweep with that broom. God said, I want to sweep it out like a broom, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, surely I have thought, and so shall it come to pass. And as I have purposed, so shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrian. See, he puts Babylon and Assyria together. Why? Because Babylon was created by Nimrod, and then when God ran everybody out of Babylon and confounded their language, Nimrod went and built the city of Nineveh, where the Assyrians rose, and they were the first empire in the Levant. See, it's all Babylon. It all started in Babylon. That's why the Assyrian and the Babylonian, the Chaldeans, that's why they're all judged together. They all began there in the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization. Although some people say it started in Africa, it couldn't have, because that wasn't where the ark landed. I'm sorry. I had a pain. I'm okay now. All is well. But the Assyrians judged at the same time. Then I will break the Assyrian in my land. and upon my mountains tread him under foot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burdens depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. The whole earth. How? Where? The whole earth. Not just Assyria and Babylon, but wherever their reach was. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. And this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations. The Lord of hosts has purposed it, and who shall disannul it? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? The destruction of Babylon, and inclusive of that would be Assyria, is continued in Zephaniah chapter 2. Mine's Zephaniah, yes. And this is a judgment on the nation. It is an encapsulated version of the things that Isaiah wrote. This is a judgment on a multitude of nations: Moab, Ammon, Ethiopia, Philistia. But he also comes to a passage about Assyria. And he wrote this over 100 years after the Assyrians had captured Israel, the northern kingdom, and burned Samaria, their capital, to the ground. He wrote this 80 years before Assyria would come into Judah and try to take it and fail, because the Lord destroyed their army and turned the rest away. Here is Zephaniah writing around 630 BC. He will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and make Nineveh a desolation, and dry like a wilderness. And flocks shall lie down in the midst of her, and all the beasts of the nations. Both the cormorant and the bittern shall lodge in the upper lintels of it, and their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. And this is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, and said in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. How has she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Every one that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his head. And then, of course, Revelation chapter 18, where the same scene is described, only I don't know if I read the passage in Jeremiah. Well, let's go there first. We studied this in detail when we studied Jeremiah a couple of years ago. But if we go to chapter 51 of Jeremiah, he talks about the same period, the same time. And he wrote this probably 30, 35 years after Zephaniah wrote the part we just read. And when he talks about how he's going to cut off Babylon, and it says in verse 29 of 51, now chapters 50 and 51 cover the fall of Babylon, but this is the pertinent part to the part we've been reading about the vacant land after the destruction. Verse 29 of chapter 51 of Jeremiah. Call together the archers against Babylon, All ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to all her work. According to all that she hath done, do unto her. For she hath been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O thou proud, thou most proud, saith the Lord, God of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour him round about him. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. But their Redeemer is strong. My Redeemer is strong. Your Redeemer is strong. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he hath redeemed from the hand of the enemy. The Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall truly plead his cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. The sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, upon her princes and upon her wise men. The sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. The sword is upon their horses and upon their chariots and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images. You see, religion began in Babylon. Religion spread from Babylon to Nineveh, from Babylon and Nineveh to all over the world, because that is where the world spread out from Babylon when God confounded their language in chapter 11 of Genesis. And so they carry their religion and their gods all over the world, and we worship them today. All worship them except for the handful, the little flock who worship the risen Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Glory to his name. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. Crazy about them. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert and the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever. Well, it's inhabited now, so this hadn't happened yet. Neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Well, it's dwelt in now, so that hadn't happened yet. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell there. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up over the coasts of the earth. Well, that was the part about the bittern and the owl and everything taken over to be desolate. One more thing from Jeremiah chapter 51. It says, thus saith the Lord, verse 1, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind. This is the battle of Armageddon, and its prelude and its aftermath. And will send unto Babylon fanners, and they shall fan her, shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend its bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine. Spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his sword. No, I'm sorry. I'm really having trouble seeing this morning. You got to forgive me. Well, you don't have to forgive me, but I would appreciate it if you would. I know my friends bear with me sometimes when I'm trying to get through this. If I'm not having an especially great morning. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land be filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel, and it certainly is now. But that doesn't matter, you see. They're chosen. They're going to stay chosen. God will redeem Israel. It's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. Though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance, and he will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, and therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. It was never fallen, it was never destroyed. Darius and Cyrus took it by night by drying up a river and walking in under a viaduct and killing the king and the royal family and all the princes. There wasn't a sword raised against them that night. And they didn't even need a Trojan horse to get in there. They just walked in, and everybody was drunk and having a party, and they had their way. No more Babylon for them. But it has never fallen in combat, and it has never been destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple, except that the Medes did not destroy it then. You see, it's for the future. There will come a time. There will come a time when Babylon is no more, when Babylon is taken, where her cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness. Right here, verse 43 of chapter 51 of Jeremiah. The sea has come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. They are digging from Babylon to the Persian Gulf right now so that it can become a transport center for oil. You didn't know that, did you? Because you don't hear it on the news. but they're talking about it on the other side of the world. They talk about it every day. The sea has come up upon Babylon, and she is covered with a multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. My people, after he says the wall of Babylon shall fall, in verse 15 it says, my people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. Revelation chapter 18. Confirms again the last half of Isaiah 34, that the judgment is complete and final. In chapter 18 of Revelation, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works in the cup which she hath filled full to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all thyine wood, and all manners vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after, are departed from thee. And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee. Thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. The mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters shall be no more heard, no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. And then in the following chapter, Christ comes, the second coming, the defeat of Babylon, the subjugation of the entire world to his rule, the establishment of the kingdom. Well, I'm looking forward to that. How about you? Verse 16, seek ye out of Isaiah 34, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. None of these shall fail. None of these shall fail. None of these prophecies, none of these things that we've said shall fail. God bless you. I hope you have a good Saturday.